Hello everyone, my name is Ali. You are listening to Video Game Stress or Relief. My topic for this podcast is the psychological effects of video games. And no, I'm not talking about violent video games and in real life violence. There are more than enough articles out there that discuss that idea. I will be talking about other psychological effects that occur when playing games for a certain amount of time, and especially the effects that happen when playing competitive video games, where winning and losing matters. So, games can have both negative and positive effects. Yes, believe it or not, playing games can be good for you, and it achieves some interesting results, but not all games have the same effects on you. Which leads me to the study conducted by Hamid Ali, totally didn't butcher the name, where a total of 80 players aged 18 to 30 years played four types of video games: runner game, excitement game, fear game, and puzzle game. Their brainwaves and saliva were tested after playing these games. The study revealed that the level of stress experienced by playing fear game was higher than the excitement game, which means that playing games that require quick actions and tensions create stress, which is obviously bad since we have enough stress to deal with as students. But light-hearted games like a peaceful puzzle game makes you more relaxed and it reduces stress, not to mention develop your problem-solving ability. Now that we talked about stress, which everyone loves, let's move on to another thing that brings everyone great joy: exercise. Now you might be wondering, what does video games have to do with exercise? What if I tell you video games can make your exercise less exhausting and much more entertaining? Research conducted by Nan Zhang, Zachary Pope, and Zhang Gao, where 12 healthy college students completed two separate 20-minute exercise sessions on the VR based exercise bike and traditional stationary exercise bike. Blood pressure, BP, was used as a measure of this. Participants reported significantly higher ratings of perceived exertion during the traditional exercise bike session compared with VR-based exercise biking session, and participants had significantly higher self-efficiency. By using VR with exercise, people felt less tired, more motivated, and therefore got better results from exercising. See, it's not all bad when it comes to video games, but these effects only occur when playing casual games. In competitive games, it's a little different. A competitive game is a game in which winning and losing matters, and players try their hardest to win. These games are usually online multiplayer games. Now, to talk about these games of pure horror, the scariest type of games, no, not horror games, online games where you interact with people and will have to show teamwork. People act differently online, and I can tell you, it's so much better in real life. I went to the esports gaming center here in Boise State to see how players act when playing Overwatch with people in the same room. And in case you don't know what Overwatch is a competitive online role-based team first-person shooter game where winning means you gain points to get into a higher rank. What I noticed was that everyone was cooperative and respectful, while in an online environment, people tend to become hostile and start throwing insults at teammates when things don't go the way they want. I've been insulted and kicked out of groups for having an accent, and that's why the Overwatch community is considered toxic. Overwatch can also reflect personalities. From what I've noticed while observing Overwatch players for over 10 months now, is that players who play the tank role are usually the ones who act more as leaders, and the role they play means they go in the front line and lead the team. From what I noticed while observing the gaming center was that the tank player was the one that talked the most, directing the team and calling out targets for the team to focus, and provided suggestions and feedback for other players. And he was sitting in a position that proved he was comfortable dealing with people and was relaxed. Meanwhile, a support player is usually much quieter, playing a role that requires them to stay in the backline and keep everyone alive. Support players are usually shy, and from what I observed in the gaming center, the player who was playing support was sitting in a way that indicated he was not that open to interacting with people and did not talk at all during the game. Fun fact, I'm also a support player, and so is a close friend of mine. Her name is Amber Jones, and she was kind enough to let me interview her. And she told me that the reason that she plays support is because she likes helping people, and that losing multiple competitive games in a row can cause her to feel bad for a long time and not feel like doing anything. She also said that sometimes these games feel like an addiction, and it's all she can think about, which would affect her other daily activities. Competitive games have a much bigger effect on a person's psychology than casual games, as losing causes more frustration, because unlike casual games, where if you lose you can just play again until you win and be done with the level, in competitive games, if you lose, then you'll need to win twice to make progress. And in team-based games where you have to work with strangers in a team, things can easily go wrong and would cause a lot of frustration, which would affect how you feel for a while and therefore make your other activities less enjoyable and you would accomplish less than what you would have liked to. The highest level of competitive gaming would be esports, which means playing against the world's best players in a professional league and getting paid to play these games as a job. Competitive games have both positive and negative effects on the player. An example of positive effects would be what Mark D. Griffiths mentioned in his article, Psychology in Competitive Gaming. He says, for instance, research has demonstrated measurable differences between novice and expert game players, the latter group often demonstrating enhanced short-term memory, executive control, self-monitoring, pattern recognition, visual spatial abilities, and task switching efficiency, along with more efficient problem-solving skills. But he also mentions that professional gamers also suffer social difficulties since they don't have time to spend with family and making friends is much more difficult for them. It becomes harder for them to make and maintain social relationships, and gaming becomes a full-time job, and then it turns into an addiction. Professional players suffer significant effects that would cause them to quit a job that many people dream of. And one player, Ben Brewer, said, games were more than just a place to pass the time. They were life, and thus everything that didn't involve gaming got pushed to the back burner. That's why I had terrible social skills, few real-life friends, and poor grades in school. After he messed up in presentation, he decided he was gonna quit, and his life was going better with a noticeable improvement, but he couldn't resist going back a year later because he viewed games as a way to escape reality. But he slowly escaped it by finding other hobbies and envisioning what his future would look like. And he managed to quit games for good, and he has been enjoying it, as he says. For me, it has all been worth it. Sure, there's been growing pains from quitting, and the change has been gradual. I didn't just stop playing and poof, things were amazing. I've been on this journey for quite some time, but each year it only gets better. Video games is a tricky medium of entertainment. Whether it's good or bad is up to how you use it. But hopefully, this podcast will help you decide how you want to play games or to not play at all. Thank you for listening. Special thanks to Hamid Aliari, Ben Brewer, Mark D. Griffiths, Nan Zhang, Zachary Pope, Zhang Gao, and Amber Jones that provided very valuable information that made this podcast possible.